Welcome, everyone. My name is Angela Palmer. I'm the Director of Marketing here at the Alliance of Arizona Nonprofits, and I'm joined today by Alicia Tang Mills, the Manager of Capacity Building. Feel free to let us know who you are and what organization you work with in the chat box. We're excited to see all of you. A few housekeeping items while we all get settled. We do have closed captioning available for those that need it. Just use the CC button on the bottom of your screen. If you haven't done so already, we recommend downloading the worksheet that Alicia is dropping in the chat, as that will help you throughout today's webinar. Should you have any questions, feel free to also drop them in that chat box, and they'll be answered at the end of the session. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Arizona Guide to Grants Online. The focus will be on using the Guide to Grants Online tool. If you need help with what comes after that step, please feel free to let us know in the survey that we'll be sending at the end of the session. That helps us know what kinds of learning opportunities you need. We're happy to have the founder and architect of the Arizona Guide to Grants Online here with us today, Maryn Boess. In her 35+ nonprofit career, she's been everything from a grant writer to a grants trainer, grants reviewer, and even a grant maker. So without further ado, Maryn, take it away.
Oh, wow. Hey, that was like the quickest introduction ever. Angela, thank you so much. Alicia, thank you so much to the whole team at the Alliance for Arizona Nonprofits for bringing us all together today. Friends, I am so excited to have this opportunity to share with you a largely hidden treasure in Arizona nonprofit land. Some of you may be familiar with the Arizona Guide to Grants Online. Maybe you are already a subscriber and you're here to learn more about how to make it work for you. Maybe you've never heard of it before this particular program came into your email inbox and you're curious to know what the Arizona Guide to Grants Online is all about. We've got 90 minutes to unpack all of that for you. And I just want to say this is like asking a very proud parent to talk about a beloved child. Literally 21 years ago, the Arizona Guide to Grants Online was a gleam in my eye. And you'll hear a little bit more about what its predecessor looked like. And voila, here we are all these years later, and it is still out there doing the hard work of serving the Arizona nonprofit community in a very powerful and very unique way. Your Arizona Guide to Grants Online, your at your fingertips grants resource and how to get the very most from it. So let me give you a preview of where we're going to be going today. First of all, I want to let you know that although I moved away from Arizona, we were just talking about it 10 years ago exactly. I now live in the Pacific Northwest, but I love working with everybody in Arizona, and I want to invite you to come visit me at my new online home at GrantsMagicU. The website address is go.grantsmagic.org. You can join the community, which simply means that you are in my email community. It is literally an international community. It shocks me to understand that we've got representatives, members in our community from every single US state and territory and 28 other countries all gathered together to learn more about what it takes to have true, sustainable, healthy grant success. So I hope you'll come and visit me and hang around. And that is all I'm going to say about GrantsMagicU at this particular point. Let's talk about what we're going to be doing here today. Our quick start checklist. Our 90 minutes is going to be divided into actually 4 parts. Part 1, Beyond Mission Match, success strategies for zeroing in on our sweet spot funders. We're here to learn about how to use a specific grants research tool. But before I teach you how to use this specific tool, the Arizona Guide to Grants Online, or the GGO as I understand it's called now, I want you to understand the basic strategies behind setting up your search so that when we go to the tool, you'll have a terrific list. We call it a scavenger hunt list to take with you and give you the best possible traction for moving forward and getting terrific results, which is what this is really all about. So that's part 1, talking a little bit about the key success strategies for setting up a successful grant search as we teach it at GrantsMagicU. Part 2 transitions this over to actually start talking about the GGO, the Guide to Grants Online. I'm going to give you a guided tour. We're going to go online. I'm going to give you a live guided tour and kind of show you around the highlights and the functionalities and the key things, the big things and how they work in general. And then in part 3, we're going to combine parts 1 and part 2. We're going to take the scavenger hunt list that we build in part 1, and we're going to dive right into the Arizona Guide to Grants Online and do the actual scavenger hunt, a real life funder search right here, active, real time, using the current database just as it is. You see that little mysterious note about Boolean search monkeys? I will tell you a little bit later about our Boolean search monkeys. And then part 4 will be the time that we have afterwards for Q&A. So what I want you to do, and Angela did a great job of setting this up, is I'm going to be sharing things with you that it'll be totally new to you, and you'll probably have lots of ideas and thoughts about what's next or things that you'd like to know more about. I'm not going to stop during the presentation to answer questions. So I want you to be writing your questions down, making notes of your questions as you go. It's very possible that your question will be answered a little bit later on, but after we've wrapped up the scavenger hunt itself, then Angela will go back in and invite you to put your questions in the chat box so that we can pull them forward. I also want to set a very clear expectation that this is not a time where we're going to be talking about everything there is to know about grants research. We're focusing on this specific tool and how to get the very most from it. What you'll end up with at the end of your search on the Arizona Guide to Grants Online is a very tight, very curated list of prospective grant makers that could very well be a great match for whatever the project is that you're looking to support with grant funding. That is not the end of your grants research. There's due diligence beyond this that needs to happen before you ever submit a proposal to any of the funders on your list. The focus here today is going to be on how to get that list. We call it your sweet spot funder list of those funders, grant makers who are most likely to say an enthusiastic yes to your proposal. And then your job beyond that is to do additional due diligence, additional research to fine tune the list, make sure you're understanding what the funders are looking for right now and how to make sure that you are a good fit for them and they are a good fit for you. So the Guide to Grants Online is a great start to give you your curated sweet spot funder list. And then there's additional work that you'll need to do beyond that, which is outside the scope of what we're going to be talking about here today. All right, so let's get going. Part 1, Beyond Mission Match, Success Strategies for Zeroing in on Our Sweet Spot Funders. So what are we talking about here? The key question, let's start with some questions. The big question that we're asking when we are setting out to do our grants research is this. I love the language here. How do we find the grant makers who are most likely to say an enthusiastic yes to our proposal? Okay, so there's an old joke about how do you get to Carnegie Hall? I forgot the joke. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? How do you get to, the New York Philharmonic? The answer there is practice, practice, practice. The Carnegie Hall answer to this question is research, research, research. Research using the right tools, the right approaches, and the right strategies is the one way and the only way to find those grant makers who are out there looking for proposals like yours, for a project like yours, because that's what they want to be investing their philanthropic dollars in, supporting and growing. That's the change that they want to be creating with the investment of their philanthropic resources. The number one mistake that people make when they set out to find those funders is to go to a database, or worse yet, oh my gosh, try to do it by Google without a really good list. Going on a scavenger hunt without a really good list. So the scavenger hunt analogy is a really helpful one here, because if you remember, maybe when you were a child, you did scavenger hunts. Boy, oh boy, in pandemic times, scavenger hunts are not a thing, at least not real-time scavenger hunts. But you would go to a birthday party and all the kids would be given a list of things that they would usually divide it up into teams. And then each team would have a list of very common household items. And they would run around the neighborhood and knock on all the friendly neighbors' doors, people that they knew, and ask if they had a button or a safety pin or an expired theater ticket. And then at the end of the time, they would all come back to the party house, and whichever team found the most items on the list, they won. Imagine what that would be like if, instead of having a list before the teams were sent out, the instructions were just go find stuff, go look for stuff, go ask for stuff, and see what you come back with. We have no clue how to do that. Going out into the great and wonderful world of funder databases without a really good list that you've carefully prepared and thought about ahead of time to identify and highlight the different aspects of your project, that you can go knocking on funders' doors and saying, hey, we've got this thing, are you interested in, is the single biggest mistake. A, you waste a lot of time. B, you get drawn off into a lot of non-mission focused connections potentially. C, you lose your focus on your own mission. And D, did I mention you waste a lot of time? And E, you leave a lot of money on the table. So step one is to develop a really good list for our scavenger hunt. Now, the good news, bad news, good news is how many funders are there out there in grants world who make grants? Well, the number on the screen says 100,000. The foundation directory online says more like 160,000. That sounds like a lot. That's a lot of doors to go knocking on if you're just knocking on all those doors. But out of those, let's just say 100,000, how many do you think are going to be your sweet spot funders? How many do you think for your project and your organization are going to be funders who are excited to see your project because it's a great fit for the change they want to be creating in the world? How many do you think are sweet spot prospects for you? I'm afraid it looks like this one tiny little dot. That's 1/100th of 1%. And if you multiply that out, I think I got the decimals correct there. That would mean that out of that 100,000 total, 10 are likely to be your sweet spot funders. My friends, if you can find 10 true, genuine sweet spot funders through your very focused, very diligent and strategic grants research, you are doing phenomenally well. 10 sweet spot funders are 100 times better than 100 funders that might or maybe not, okay? So we're gonna be focusing on those 10 and how do we find them. So that is the very good news. And again, that's why the number one mistake is not having a really good list, because how are you going to find 10 out of 100,000 if you don't know exactly what you're looking for? All right, so let's talk about that. So when you come to visit us at GrantsMagicU, you're going to discover a wonderful resource that I teach everywhere, and I've taught it for many, many years, called the Magic Wand one-page worksheet. And it's actually the core of a free training that we offer called the Quick Start Guide to the One-Page Grant Proposal. And you see the URL there, go.grantsmagic.org/QS. That stands for Quick Start. That's the place where you can go to sign up, you and your team, for the free video training that gives you the Magic Wand one-page worksheet, which basically is the entire inner anatomy of every single grant proposal you will ever write and the key planning questions that you need to use to build every single grant proposal out. Phenomenal worksheet. It is a one-page grant proposal worksheet. And the reason I'm bringing it up here is, first of all, I love it. Second of all, you will want to sign up and take this free course because it will change your life. And third of all, the very last question is all about what we're looking at here today. Questions 1 through 9 are all about structuring the grant proposal itself, but question 10 on our one-page grant proposal worksheet is all about where do you go to, how do you use what you've developed in your project plan to set up your funder search. Question number 10 says, what broad categories of community needs, issues, or opportunities does your project address? What broad categories of community needs, issues, or opportunities does your project address? And what we're really asking here is when you look at your project plan that you've developed through questions 1 through 9, what are the different aspects of that plan that you can pull out and highlight that are going to connect with the funding interests of different groups of grant makers? In other words, keyword search terms. Okay, so that's the framework that we're going to be using as we dive into how we set up our scavenger hunt. It's built right into our one-page grant proposal worksheet as question number 10, not as part of the proposal itself, but as a way of looking back at the proposal and saying, there are a lot of moving parts here and a lot of different things that we're doing in a lot of different ways. Those are going to connect with different groups of grant makers. Let's bring them together and use that as our scavenger hunt list so we can go find our sweet spot funders. So let's take this through. We're looking for that sweet spot. One way I love to think about the sweet spot is that it's like looking through the two lenses of a pair of glasses. I wear glasses, lots of you do as well. And you know that the prescription on each of the two lenses is a little bit different. The analogy is a really good one where our adorable little Chihuahua puppy out here with the great big spectacles, right? One lens we have to always be looking through is our interests as the grant seeking organization, our mission, what's going to advance our mission in the world. The other lens when we're doing our funder research, though, is the funder's interest. What are the things the funders, the grant makers, the foundations, the public entities want to be doing with their dollars? What is the intersection of those two? We're not going to erase our interest and go completely over to the funder side. We're going to maintain focus on our interests, but we're going to look for where the sweet spot is, where our interest is the grant-seeking mission-first organization intersects with the funder's interest, and that's the sweet spot that we're looking for in our funder research. And that's why we build our scavenger hunt list first before we ever dive into any grants research tool. Okay, we don't go window shopping, we go with a scavenger hunt list. So classic mission match would say we are going to look for funders whose philanthropic mission matches our organization's mission. That would look something like this. Our mission, grant maker's mission, complete overlap. If you're looking at me, my hands are going like I'm putting my two hands over each other. And I used to be called the queen of mission match. I used to preach it up one side and down the other, always mission match, mission match, mission match. It's just as important as it ever was, but now we have better tools that help us refine our grants research to the point where we can be even more strategic in the way we go about it. And rather than looking only for those funders who are a clear match for our overall mission, we can be looking for grant makers whose philanthropic interests intersect in a meaningful way with what we're proposing to do. It may sound like I'm saying the same thing, but I'm not, because there are lots of ways that philanthropic interests of the grant makers can intersect with something that we're doing in our project without their actually aligning 100% with our organizational mission. So keep that in mind as we move forward. And this is only made possible in terms of grants research, literally by the online high-tech tools that we now have available to us that weren't the case when I started my journey in grants world way back 35 years ago, as Angela said. So let's take a real life example. This is on page something. If you have your workbook, there it is. It's on page 5 in your workbook. There's a page cue in the bottom left of your screen. And this is what we're going to be using as our example all the way through as we actually develop our scavenger hunt. And then when we go into the Guide to Grants Online, we're going to use exactly the same scenario So here we go. Let's say your organization is a 501c3 nonprofit in Tucson, yay Tucson, and you provide a school-based reading program for teenagers whose families are immigrants. Okay, so that's the basics that you're doing with your organization. Now you want to expand your service into a more rural community, and you're requesting a grant to train volunteers as tutors for the teenagers. Okay, and just to expand out with a little bit more detail, you'll also be working with 3 local churches in the rural community to recruit your volunteers from among their members. So this is the teaching example that I use over and over again, all through everything in GrantsMagicU. If you've taken any of our courses, you've probably seen this before. I've tweaked this a little bit to make it even more specific to Arizona. Hooray. But that's the basic scenario. So you might want to put a little sticky note on that page. You may be coming back to that as we go through our questions moving forward. So we know what the project looks like. This is our project. Now let's develop our scavenger hunt list. So in our working example, the first thing we're always going to be identifying is what's the geographic scope. Now with the Arizona Guide to Grants Online, you've got a gimme on that one because every single funder in that database has a strong recent history of making grants to Arizona. If you're doing your funder research in a national database like GrantStation or the Foundation Directory Online, you would need to specifically use Arizona as one of your search terms to make sure you're only focusing on those funders that will fund in Arizona. Okay, so the geographic scope is always first. And the second thing that we're looking for is always quote unquote mission match. And remember, as I just shared with you, mission match doesn't always mean a complete correspondence at the highest level in the mission. We actually have 5 mission match frames, 5 different ways of framing and highlighting different aspects of your project plan that will connect with different sets of funders. Okay, that's the key, pulling out and highlighting different aspects of our project that will connect with the funding interests of different groups of funders. So the first mission match frame is probably the one that we think of as traditional mission match. This is what is the problem or issue area that we're addressing. Let's think about that. Well, we're addressing literacy, right? So let's just pull literacy up as our first key word. Okay, literacy is the problem or issue that we address as an organization, and it is the focus of this specific project. Pro tip number 1. Look for alternate language. We're going out into funder world, and though a lot of funders will describe their interests as literacy, some funders may use different language to describe the exact same thing. So what's another term that somebody might use when they're talking about literacy? Literacy is all about reading, right? So let's pull reading up as our secondary term for frame 1. So the problem or issue area that we're dealing with is literacy and reading. Pro tip 1, make sure you write that down. What's the primary word that most likely is going to be used to describe your problem or issue area? It could be a phrase, but it's best if you can get it down to one word. And then is there alternate language that somebody else who wasn't in your organization might use to be talking about essentially the same thing? Okay, so that's our frame 1. That's quick and easy, isn't it? That's typically our traditional classic mission match, right? Because our organization's mission is literacy. But if we stop there, if that is all we look for when we go out to do our funder search, my friends, you are leaving a ton of money on the table, a ton of money on the table. Because did you know that there are funders who would love to see your program proposal because it matches something they're interested in doing, even though they do not have any specific interest in literacy whatsoever? And that's what we're going to be diving into now. Frame number 2 is all about who you're helping. Who are the people that are going to be benefiting from your services? So let's go back to our scenario. We are specifically working with teens, right? Remember that? But they are teens in a particular group and that group is that they are with immigrant families. So our target population, even though I hate that terminology because it sounds so, I don't know what's so institutional, I guess. We're working with teenagers who are in immigrant families. So we have two different bullet points for frame 2. Who are we helping? Okay, so frame 1, frame 2. Did you know there are funders who are looking for projects that support teen programs, that support services for teens in immigrant families, and they don't care whether it's literacy, they don't care whether it's, drama productions, I have no idea. Their interest is, does this serve teens from immigrant families? Boom, you've got that for them. Okay, so literacy may not be of a specific interest, but the teens and the immigrant families may. That's a whole separate subset of prospective sweet spot funders. All right, so you're catching on already. Frame 3 is the service or intervention. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to be doing to address the issue for the people that we're serving. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, this is tutoring. So let's put that word up there. But I really want you to dig deep here. There is another element of what we're doing that becomes an important keyword for us too. Giving you a moment to look back at page 5 and see if you can see what it is. And I'm just going to pop that in there as volunteers. The fact that we're doing this through volunteers is a really major part of our project plan. It doesn't matter if it goes under service or intervention. It doesn't matter where it goes. Where the specific bullet points go doesn't matter as long as we pull it forward. So the fact that we are providing tutoring that's offered through volunteers, those now become the 2 bullet points for frame 3. What specifically we're going to do, and in this case, the volunteers become a big part of that what. Frame number 4 is the nature of the locale. The nature of the locale. It's kind of an inside out way of saying, what's the community? What is the actual physical community all about? Now, it's not the same thing as geographic scope. Geographic scope in a great big huge sense was Arizona. We're only looking for funders that fund in Arizona. But this is where we zoom in a little bit more and we say, hey, what are we doing here? We're Tucson based, but we're expanding into a what? A rural community. So did you know there are funders who love to support projects that serve rural communities, and they don't care if the projects are literacy, they don't care if the projects are tutoring, they don't care if the projects are for teens or immigrants families. None of those specific things are what gets them excited. What gets them excited is, does it serve the rural community? Now, we also, because we're Tucson based specifically, we want to eliminate funders who only fund in Flagstaff, for instance. So let's go ahead and put Tucson as our as one of the natures of our locale. Okay, so the more specific we can get in our search, sometimes the better. And you'll see how we can mix and match these terms too, and try them from different angles and different aspects and come up with different results. We're all the way through frame 4, guys. We only have 5, remember? And look, we've already begun to build our scavenger hunt list all the way through 4 mission match frames. And here we go. Here's number 5. Number 5 is the organization type. The organization type. Now, organization type means, what type of organization are you? What are we? Go back and pick that up from page 5. We're a 501c3. So we're only going to be looking for funders who specifically make grants to 501c3 organizations. If we were a school, that would be a whole different set of funders. If we were a tribal entity or a local government, those would be entirely separate searches. We're a 501c3. That's the most common, and that's good. But I made that secondary note underneath there that said including partners. This is pro tip number 2. I think I've probably given you more pro tips than that already, just packing them in here. This is a huge pro tip, my friends. When we partner, and when our partners are a different kind of organization than we are, We are opening up the possibility that we can attract funders who only support projects that have that kind of organization associated with it, that we would not have access to on our own. Partnering is the single most powerful amplifier and accelerator of our grants success. And I teach so much inside what that means, but one of the big things that means is that because we are partnering with schools and churches, we can potentially appeal to funders who only support projects that are affiliated with schools or are affiliated with churches. And these are funders who would not be available to us. They wouldn't be interested in us without that partnership affiliation. So the partnerships can expand our pool of prospective funders in very dramatic and powerful ways. Woohoo! All right, I believe that is the end of our mission match frames. That's it. Have you been keeping count? So we start with all the grant makers who make grants in our geographic region, Arizona. That's the entire population of the Guide to Grants Online database. And if I were teaching you how to use the Foundation Directory Online, again, we would go back and I would show you exactly how to make sure you're only looking for those that fund in Arizona. The GGO does that for you already. So you're already inside that population. But then look what happened. We narrowed our focus to identify, or we will be going out to identify those grant makers who have an express interest in making grants in at least one of the following: literacy or reading, alternate language, teens or youth, alternate language, immigrant families, right? Tutoring, volunteers, rural, Tucson schools, and churches. Look at all those other ways that we can be connecting with prospective sweet spot funders. That, my friends, is our scavenger hunt research tool. That's our list, and that's the list we're going to be carrying with us into part 3 when we actually go into the Guide to Grants Online with our scavenger hunt. Woohoo! So that is part 1. And you don't have to be using the Guide to Grants Online to make good use of this particular strategy. Pulling apart the different elements of our project and being able to look at it through the different frames, the 5 different frames, is the strategy to use for success in developing your search list, no matter what grants research tool you are using. We are talking about the Guide to Grants Online here today. So part 2 gives me an opportunity to introduce you to the Arizona GGO and give you a little bit of a guided tour. In other words, where to take your scavenger hunt list once you've got it. All right, so old fogey time. This is what grants research looks like today, right? At your fingertips, boom, within a matter of 2 seconds, you've got connections available all over the world, in near instantaneous. This is what it looked like when I started. Yeah. That is not literally a photo of the Phoenix Library main downtown branch, but it might as well be, because that's where I needed to go. And anybody else who was doing grants research needed to go there and pour through these massive print directories that were only updated every 18 months. And they were 160,000 pages of tiny type of cross-index, blah, 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 old fogey story. Not going to go into that in any great detail, but guys, that's what things look like when the Arizona Guide to Giving was launched. And this is what the very first edition of the Arizona Guide to Giving looked like. I cannot believe it. You guys are seeing this. I had to pull this out from a box under my bed the other day and take a picture of it. It was a book long before it was an online database, because why? It was printed first in 1995. It was pretty much the first regional directory of grant makers, and it focused specifically on Arizona. It's so much fun for me to pull that out. Let me show you this shot. It continued on. It was published. It got a little better looking over time. And the final edition was published in 2010. By that time, the Arizona Guide Online was already very well established. So both the book and the online directory were available for a period of years. The book directory fell to the wayside for a lot of good reasons. The online directory has continued forward, and I couldn't be happier about that. That is my name on the front of those books. As the editor and publisher, it was my baby from the very beginning. And again, Yeah, I'm so proud of it. I'm so grateful that when I moved to Washington State 10 years ago, the Alliance of Arizona Nonprofits stepped in and was ready to take over ownership and responsibility for carrying the guide to grants online forward. And it's been a terrific association, and I couldn't be prouder. I do feel like a parent watching her child grow and take on their own journey in the world without my needing to be there to care and feed. So with that little bit of a moment, this is what it looks like now. When you go to the page that invites you to sign up and join or log in, this is what it now looks like, again, at your fingertips. So let's talk a little bit about what the guide is all about. It did launch in the year 2000. The underlying architecture has not changed. The underlying architecture for the search structure was so robust and so strong that it has not changed in the 21 years since, which is just astonishing. It has been Arizona's premier and really only resource for information about corporations and foundations that give in Arizona. That's super important, my friends. It isn't just those that are physically headquartered in Arizona. Wherever they are, do they give in Arizona? Do they have a recent history and a stated interest in making grants to Arizona-based organizations? That is the singular focus of this directory. Okay, and it's been going on every year. It has grown in both scope and depth, meaning that it's gotten bigger, more funders. It's gotten deeper, meaning more detailed profile information contained in the funder profiles. It's just extraordinary. You have no idea the work that goes on behind the scenes to make it all possible for you at your fingertips. It is now online. Most people don't know that for a short time, there was a searchable CD-ROM version before the online capability came aboard, but we quickly pivoted away from that, from the static. So a book is static. What does that mean? Once the information is published, it doesn't change. Plug it into your computer CD-ROM was just a digitized version of the book, is also static. Once it's on the disk, it doesn't change. The online searchable database gave the opportunity for changes to be made and be available to you, the user, instantaneously. Guys, that's something I know we all take for granted right now. Back in the day, it wasn't something, it was phenomenal that we could update a funder profile and you hundreds of miles away could see the updated information within seconds. Phenomenal. So we quickly made the pivot over to the online searchable database, which offers detailed, we'll show you exactly how detailed the information is current. I'm going to brag on the Alliance for how much work goes into making sure that the information is fresh and up to date. Profiles of over, says here, 2,300 corporations and foundations with a recent history of making grants in Arizona, right at your fingertips, wherever you and your computer are, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. A little bit of an update. Angela, you might want to get in and make an update because I just double checked and there are actually over 3,000 listings of corporations and foundations in the Guide to Grants online currently. That is a lot, guys. All right, so.
You froze for 1 second there, Maryn.
What's that?
We had just a quick little blip where you froze, your audio froze for 1 second.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, you're
okay, good. All right. So here's what our guided tour is going to cover. I'm going to cover features and functionality. I'm going to walk you around and show you the highlights, and we're going to take some little detours into some side roads along the way. I'm going to give you a closer look at the built-in search tools so you'll really understand there are 3 different search functions, and I want you to understand all of them. And I also want you to really understand all of the back-end help that's available to you. And then we're going to pivot directly into part 3. We're just going to segue right into doing our live search using the new scavenger hunt tool so you can see exactly how it all works. And I can't wait to get started. This is the fun part. I worked really hard to see if I could actually do this. Just a second. But first, I promised you, I need to introduce you to my hardworking but very literal-minded Boolean search monkeys. All right, so you guys all take for granted that you can go to a Google search bar, type something in, and boom, instantaneously, all of this information comes back. I don't take that for granted because most of my life that wasn't even, that never happened. So I have this little story I tell myself. I tell myself that it isn't really technology that does it, that there are some sort of flying monkeys, search monkeys, I call them, that are waiting for me to give them instructions. And I tell them what I want them to find, and they go, got it, and they go out and look for it, and they bring back what they think I want to see. I call them the Boolean search monkeys because what I'm going to be sharing with you here is our version, the GGO's version of Boolean search language, which if you're kind of techie nerdy, you'll know this is the sort of the search logic behind every single search function that we do now at our fingertips on the internet. It was invented, it's a logic language that was invented by a man whose last name was Boole. I can't remember whether his first name was George or Fred or something else at this point, but Boole. And so this entire logic language was named after him. The thing about the monkeys is when you know their language, they are very, very good servants, and they will bring you back exactly what you ask for, but the emphasis on the word exactly. They're very literal minded, and we have to be very specific in how we set up their instructions. So that's what we're going to be going through when we do the search itself. I'll be talking to you about your Boolean search monkeys and how we speak to them. And there's a preview in your book, if you've got it, I think it's on page 7, that are the language rules for the Boolean search monkeys. Don't worry about them right now. We're going to be going over them live and in real time. So you can kind of keep this image of the Boolean monkeys in your mind as we move forward. All right, so there they are. They are ready and waiting for you to send them out on a search, and they will bring you back anything you ask for if they can find it. All right, let's do our scavenger hunt. No, that's not right. Wait a second, is that right? Oh, okay. I guess we're going to go ahead and sorry, I set this up. So we're going to segue into, I'm going to remind you of the scavenger hunt because we're going to be segueing directly into that. I will remind you about the scavenger hunt list that we built and the scenario that we're working with, our 501c3 nonprofit in Tucson. So keep that in mind. That's in the background for right now. We're going to be bringing that to the fore in just a few minutes. This is the list that we built of our scavenger hunt terms, and you should, if you were following along, you will have them written down somewhere, either on your own note paper or in your handout, okay? And we're going to be coming back to this list in just a little bit, because now I'm supposed to be able to work some magic and log into the Arizona Guide to Grants Online directly from my screen. We worked really hard to make this work. Oh boy, hey Angela, it worked. You are now seeing the opening page to the Arizona Guide to Grants Online. And because I am a subscriber, I can go ahead and sign right in. All right, here we go, guys. Dun, 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 and we are in. So we are at the main search screen, and now I'm going to turn on my little annotation tool, if I can find it. Spotlight, there we go. So as we go forward now, you can follow my cursor a little more easily with that little red spotlight there. Still have to move things around on my screen. There we go. So we're at the main search screen, and this will immediately show you we've got 3 basic searches. We've got search funder profiles, we've got search grant awards, and we have search individuals. So it's a really clear description of what each of these searches does for you. Search funder profiles searches our directory. It still says of 1,900 private foundations. Got to update that, guys, because there are over 3,000 private foundations and corporations that make grants in Arizona. in the Guide to Grants Online. There is also a database of grants that have been awarded recently to Arizona organizations. We'll take a peek at that and some good reasons why you might want to search for grant awards. And you also have the database that lists the program officer by name, grant contacts, foundation trustees, and board members for the people that are inside these foundations. And you can search by name for individuals. So this is your main search page, and we're going to look at each of these in a little bit more detail. But first, I want to show you the menu bar across the top. There are some real superpower tools that are tucked in here that I think most people never actually get an opportunity to observe. It's really, really important that you know this previous page link wherever you are in your search will always take you back one step. And then you can go back another step. Every time you click it, it'll take you back one more step. You literally cannot get lost. If you ever find yourself lost and wondering where you are, you can always click back through previous page. So that is really helpful. Anytime you click search, because we're on that page, you won't see that. Well, here you can. You'll see that you can use that. Click on search to go back to the main search page, or to take you directly to any of the 3 searches for that page. So if you can click straight from here to go to the funder profiles, the grant awards, the individuals. So search is always going to take you right back to what you see right now and get you back to the basics in terms of your search. Quick searches is amazing. In quick searches, you can see your saved searches. We're going to be talking about that later. I'm going to show you how you can set up a search that works really well and gets good results for you. And it has maybe 4 or 5 different things going on. If you love it, you don't have to recreate it the next time you want to use it. You can save it. I don't think I have anything saved right now. If I click on that, I have no saved searches right now, but we will be demonstrating how to do that. And then anytime you want to, you can come right back to your saved searches and click. It doesn't save the profiles, it saves the search. So if a new funder has been added that matches your criteria, or if there's been an update of some kind, it's going to run the search for you and always be pulling forward the current data. It's not saving your profiles, it's saving the search instructions. It's saving what you tell the Boolean search monkeys to do. You can always click on the next level down called View All Funders, and that's going to give you the entire database alphabetically. See, look at that, 3,049 total organizations in our Arizona database. Woohoo. And if you wanted to, you could find your funders using this, this list, and it's quick and easy to do that. But look what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go right back to previous page again. Okay, and there I am right back to my quick searches. This one is phenomenal, guys. The new or updated funders will always show you the complete list of funders who have been added or updated within the last 30 days. So this is time stamped. This is very, very recent. These are only the funders that have either been added as new funders or something in their profile has changed in the last 30 days. So if you've got 10 sweet spot funders on your list, you can be checking under new or added, new or updated funders to see if any changes have been made to the listings for your sweet spot funders. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Only 30 days. So it's very, very fresh, new and up to date. I was just, wow. I just look at this, Angela, every time I was like, wow, it's phenomenal. Pending deadlines, the last of our 4 menu items under quick searches is kind of hiding under there, and it's not really a search per se, but when you go into pending deadlines, you will see which organizations have deadlines coming up within the next 60 days. This is so important. Let's take a look at what we've got here. If you can see this, it says pending deadlines. Okay. So the very first listing is the Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust. They have no application deadlines. And so they're always going to show up at the top of this list. And any funder who has an anytime application submission process is always going to show up at the top of this list, meaning there are no deadlines. You can submit applications to them anytime. Below that, you'll see the funders who do have deadlines coming up in the next 60 days, okay? You can see there's March 15th coming right up all the way up to March 31st. There's April 27th, okay? And these, of course, link, just as you can tell, they link directly to, click on Andrew Family Foundation, the full funder profile. And there is all the information about the Andrew Family Foundation. We'll be coming back and taking a closer look at them in just a few minutes. Now watch, guys, I'm going to click back to previous page. And look where I am. I'm right back where I was just before I clicked through to the Andrew Family Foundation. So we also have funders who have recurring deadlines. That simply means that, notice that you've got the year listed up here. That means that that date of, let's just say the Andrew Family Foundation, that deadline date of March 15th may be specific to this year, 2021. Next year, that might be a different date. Recurring deadlines means the funders have the same date every year. And so this list shows the funders that have recurring deadlines coming up in the next 60 days. The America Honda Foundation always has a date of May 1st for its deadlines every year. That doesn't change, and so on down the list. So just going into our quick searches link at the top puts you in touch with so much powerful information that can save you tons of hours and missed opportunities right there with your saved searches, viewing all funders if you ever want to see the entire database, checking to see what's new and updated since maybe the last time you looked, and those organizations that have deadlines coming up within the next 60 days. How cool is that? The next menu bar item is federal grants, and I have to say this will connect you externally. This takes you outside of the GGO to federal grants resources. Primarily, it connects you to grants.gov, which is the absolutely everything about federal grants website, organized and managed by the federal government. And there's some additional links there as well. This isn't a particularly robust feature of the guide to grants online. It was more important and relevant probably when we first created this because there were fewer external resources to connect with. But now everything you want, you can get through grants.gov, and you can connect to it straight from federal grants. All right, here's another pro tip, guys. Put your highlighter markers out on this one. Our little help menu is not just your basic, ask us if you need technical assistance. This is actually a whole pack of incredible how-tos and powerful tutorials that are built in here at your fingertips to help make sure that you never actually get lost. How to search funder profiles. Let's take a look at that. It gives you every step-by-step tool that you need to go through the search capacities. We're going to be covering this live. If you forget what I shared or you need a refresher set on what I shared, just come back to your help menu and click on how to search funder profiles. It'll give you the next one down, how to search grant awards, the specific tips that's going to go into more detail than we go today about how to actually get into that specific database about awards that funders have made. Keyword tips, that's the third item down on our drop-down menu here. This is fantastic because this tells you how to talk to the Boolean search monkeys. Everything I'm going to teach you and then some about Boolean search monkey language is posted for you here. Standard search protocols and tools. Okay.
Okay, is she frozen for anyone else now?
Yes, she is frozen for me as well.
Make sure it wasn't just me this time. Okay, give us 1 second.
Yep. Sorry about that, everyone. Please bear with us. You know, we have Zoom issues sometimes.
Oh.
All right, it looks like she had to step out and she will be back momentarily. Please bear with us.
And thank you, Jennifer Blair from the Alliance, for answering the question about the cost for the online guide.
Are interested in getting access to that, then please contact either Jennifer Blair or Robin. That information and that contact information is actually on that website as well. If you have a question about whether or not you already have an online subscription, then definitely feel free to reach out to Jen and Robin as well, because they can verify with you whether or not that is the case. And it is definitely a case by case basis. So please make sure to check.
So Angela, was there a workbook that was included with the link to this webinar?
We didn't include a we had a little worksheet that we linked, that we sent to everyone.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So Yvonne, that's a great question. What is the cost to become an Alliance member? It actually depends on your budget. So we do have a page on our website that outlines that. Let me pull that up for you really quickly. And May, you asked for the link for the workbook. Yes, Alicia, can you drop in the link to that workbook again, please? Thank you. And Karen, yes, we will be sending out all of the materials as well as the recording to this webinar. And hopefully Maryn will be able to get back on. We apologize again for this issue.
Hello there. I don't know what was happening for you guys.
You're back.
I went into an alternate universe and suddenly my internet connection completely died and I couldn't get back until it was restored. Wow. I hope you told some great jokes while I was away.
We were answering some questions, so we just took the time to while you were getting your internet back.
I clicked out of the
co-host again.
Yes. Okay. Ready to go back? Okay,
we are ready when you are.
I do not want that. Okay, hold on one second. That's my PowerPoint. I don't believe, let's see if that'll do the trick for me. Again. Okay, there we go. Okay, I can no longer see my other screen. Can you see the login screen now? Okay, great.
Yes, we can. It looks perfect.
Yeah, all right, perfect. So I'm not even gonna, whoops. There we go. All right, so let me get back where we were. Thank you so much. That happens. I was talking about the help. I think I had just, I know what I did. I clicked on the glossary of search terms, which I didn't realize would take me out of the GGO database, and that kind of threw me off. And then somehow I lost my, anyway, the tech gremlins came in and whatever, we're good to go. The key point I want you to know is that little help click there is very, very powerful, and tons of stuff, everything you need to know to get yourself on track and back on track as you're going through is loaded up for you right there under that. All right, so let's take a look at a profile. I want you to take a look at a profile. Let's go back to, where shall we go? Pending deadlines, just for fun. Where's that? Under quick searches, pending deadlines. There we go. And let's check out the end.
Maryn, one, I think you're on the wrong screen. We are seeing the Arizona guide login not the.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid would happen. We worked, guys, we worked really, really hard to make sure that everything would go. You're right. Okay. And I need to do this little thing. That's not right. Here we go. Let's try that one right there. Okay, that looks fine for me. Let me go back to you. All right. 1 second here. Now do you see?
Perfect.
Now you see it? Yay.
Yep, now I see all of your pending deadlines.
Thank you. Thank you. We did a complete run through and all of that. All right. So I went back to pending deadlines and I wanted just to open up the Andrew Family Foundation. Hold on. Let me make sure my little red sparkly spotlight is working for you there. All right. Andrew Family Foundation. Let's just open that up for you. And hopefully that'll work. Do you see the Andrew Family Foundation? Angela?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. Phew. Thank you. So let's just talk through what we're looking at here. Where does the info come from? First of all, I want to let you know that some grants databases simply do a data scoop from a single source, for instance, IRS filings. That is not where the information comes from here. Our information in the GGO comes from publicly available records. It also comes from the funders' own updates. Funders are invited to update their own profiles, and our crack research team is monitoring funder websites, notifications from funders. They're on a ton of lists that keep them, always are giving them fresh information to update as well. It's good to know that this is a very printer-friendly screen. You can print from your printer directly from this screen. Awesome. Let's talk about accepts unsolicited requests. What does that mean? I'm going to show you in a minute when we go into the foundation search that the default for the GGO is it will only show you funders that are open to and accept requests that they did not specifically invite. But you do get the reminder, and I remember very well how hard I pushed to make sure this reminder always shows up. Always contact a prospective funder for current complete details before preparing a proposal. So I'm going to show you why that default is so important. And also it's important for you to take a look at the funder data last updated. Take a look at this. This was just updated in January. That's less than 2 months ago now, guys. So this is really current information. How cool is that? So let's just talk about what we're seeing here. Number one, products and services. That just tells you what kind of organization this is. This is an independent foundation. Under contact for grants related information, boy, this is everything you need to know about getting in touch with the people behind this foundation. Notice that they're in Illinois. They're not even based in Arizona, and yet they make grants in Arizona. And in fact, interestingly enough, they have an Arizona telephone, which I only just am noticing now, which is super interesting, right? So you've got their address, you've got their phone number, you've got their email, you've got their website. And then take a look at initial form of request. This is telling you what they want you to do first before you submit a proposal. Now, in this case, they've got a quiz they want you to take online to make sure you're eligible. They ask for a letter of inquiry. Based on the letter of inquiry, they may invite you to submit a full proposal. But take a look at this. They only accept full proposals if they have invited you because of your letter of inquiry. So look how much information is packed just in these first opening lines of this particular profile. Woohoo! Let's talk about the grant making information. I'm almost afraid to, I think it's safe to click. I hope it's safe to click. We've got the list of trustees. So these are the active board members. I'm not going to click. I'm a little nervous about doing that. These are the active board members that that show up in the database for names. Geographic scope, even though they're based in Illinois, they fund primarily in Arizona. Their total assets, which basically is the cash that they have invested in this instrument called the Andrew Family Foundation. We see that $16 million currently, but you also see that's from 2.5 years ago. So that's based on information, financial filings from several years ago. And it may not be particularly helpful information. A lot of the information that is out there and available on foundations in particular is at least a couple of years old. And so it may or may not be relevant currently. What is relevant are the core grant making priorities. And here's where things get really exciting. This is the heart of the search function. This is carefully curated and categorized information that gives you entry into the funder match. It gives you entry into the things that your program does that the funders are interested in supporting. And we're going to be exploring this more from the other side when we do our searches. But the language is the same. There's actually a taxonomy that our researchers and database updaters use to make sure that they are using the same terminology for all funders to make sure that you're getting an accurate match every single time you do a search. Publications or other resources for grant seekers will usually direct you to the foundation's website for current information and specific grant guidelines and restrictions. And then this information gives you a generic information about the deadlines. And in here, you can see they've built in some additional information, the RFP for creative solutions that address issues facing under-resourced communities, as well as the protection and preservation of the natural environment in which they live. That RFP has its own specific deadline of March 15th. Okay, so really good, useful information there. And then the specific deadlines, if there is a specific deadline, you'll see them listed here. And this is what is pulled from to give you the pending deadlines information that we looked at a few minutes ago. Plenty of room for additional information about their specific programs, what they're looking for, what they do and do not fund, types of grants given. Guys, these guys make general support and operating expenses grants in addition to project grants. That's pretty important. Life cycle stages. This can give you a clue if there are funders who like to fund startup nonprofits. Not many do. So that's one thing you can find under life cycle stages. And then we get into the specific interests. This is another way of looking at the things that they like to fund. And this is really helpful here to say, hey, what if you were a no-kill animal shelter and you were using animal welfare as your search term? The Andrew Family Foundation would show up for you. But when you look to see that their specific interest in animal welfare is zoos, and apparently zoos only, and you're doing a no-kill animal shelter, become your don't match, and you'll move on to another funder. Okay, so this gives you specific information about what they're funding inside those broader categories. They also will fund specific target populations. Here they fund certain programs for children and youth, certain programs for mentoring programs in particular. And then finally, at the very bottom, you can click to a list of up to 9 sample grants recently awarded by that funder to give you a sense of what they've currently funded, which isn't necessarily an accurate predictor of what they're going to fund the next time around, but it's good information to have. Okay, so that is a quick and simple overview of what you'll find in the funder profiles themselves. And I was going to click through to the website, but I was a little worried about doing that. If you click through to the funder's website, you will find all of their own current information. You do not want to proceed. Remember, this is creating a list for you of funders that you're going to do additional research on, and the first place to go for additional research will be the funder's own website, which, if they have one, is going to be listed for you right here, and you can click through it straight from the funder profile. How cool is that? That is just awesome. That's a tremendous amount of information. All right, guys, let's do a funder search. Let's go back to the main search page. We know how to do that, don't we? We go to search, we click on main search page, And there we are. We're going to do search funder profiles. We're going to start with the fundamentals, and then we're going to go into advanced mode with our Boolean search monkeys. So be sure to queue up the scavenger hunt list that we built earlier on. We're going to be going right back into that. Let's go into our funder profile search. All right, so this is what our search funder profiles page looks. This is the heart, the soul, and the brain of the whole shebang. And there are actually 2 different ways that you can search, but an infinite number of ways you can combine those 2 basic search functions. I'm going to start at the top with what's called the funder record set. This is up top because this cues you as to which group of funders you're going to be searching inside. Remember, I showed you that on the Andrews Family Foundation, it said accepts unsolicited grant proposals. That's because they're what we call an open foundation, an open grant maker. We also can send you out to a list of the restricted grant makers. I'm going to open that up for you here momentarily, I hope. Are you going to open up for me there? For some reason, that's not opening. I'm not quite sure why. My internet is saying that it's unstable, which is strange because the signal looks really strong. Well, let it be said that things aren't working exactly as I'd hoped they would. The restricted funders are those who, for whatever reason, do not want to hear from you unless you are either already on their list or they are inviting you to submit a specific proposal. There are tons of reasons why a funder or a grant making organization chooses to say no soliciting. I don't want to get into all of those specifics now. We can cover that in the question if you'd like to. But one of the things I love about the GGO is that you don't even have to think twice about that. The default is open. The default is going to be those funders that want to hear from you if what you're doing matches what they love to do. The 2 ways that we search in the GGO are with the keyword search, that's right here, and the criteria search. Okay, what we can do is a combination search as well. And along the way, you're going to become proficient in how to talk the language of our Boolean search monkeys as we go through. So let's just go straight into how we do our scavenger hunt. You can follow along with me starting on page 8 if you have your workbook. We're going to move through each of the frames, the 5 frames, one at a time to demo how we use our search terms, hoping, fingers are crossed, this is going to work for us, in the group Guide to Grants Online to get super powerful results. So in your workbook, starting on page 8, I've already written in red italics the specific search terms we're going to be testing out. So you don't have to write them down. Those are the accurate, correct search terms. You don't have to write them out. You're going to watch me enter them in here. And then again, hopefully we're going to see what the results are that we get. You also have space for making a note of the number of results we get for each of our searches. This is the number of funders that the Boolean search monkeys find for us. And then you also have space for your own notes going through, okay? So what's our first frame? Our first frame is the problem or issue area. And now I have to go to my notes here to make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing. Remember, this is what we defined the first the main issue as literacy. So our first search in keyword is going to be just the word literacy. Please hold your breath and pray that this will work for us here. And it looks like it's going. Hooray! Are you seeing the search results, Angela?
Yes, I am.
Yay! So all I did was plug in the actual word literacy, and we came back with what? Take a look at what we've got. 80 records across the top. This will tell you exactly what we're seeing. 80 records found that match the keyword literacy. So this will always tell you not only how many records it found, but exactly what you were using to create that search. If you love this search and you wanted to save it, that's what you would click over here. I could save this search and I would just call this maybe literacy. Okay, you can give the search a name and save it. And here it shows up as your, oh, well, it's actually that anyway, I mistyped the name, it doesn't matter. And then I can simply click on go to saved search, and it'll run the exact same search and show me the current results for that search. In this case, nothing's changed. We got the same 80 records, okay? So that's awesome. This is what we call a twofer. Why is this a twofer? Well, it's because it's a match on two characteristics. Number one, it's a match for funders that fund in Arizona. Remember, that's our default. And it's a match for funders who support literacy. Somewhere in their profile, the word literacy shows up. So we have to be careful about that because it could be in a different context. Literacy could be financial literacy, which has nothing to do with the kind of literacy that we're working with here, but at least it gives us a good start. Literally what this means is you told the search monkeys, here is a character string. We want you to go out and find every profile that has this exact precise character string in it. Literacy, no variations. And that's exactly what they did. So that character string, literacy, will show up in every single one of these 80 profiles. That's really cool. Remember, I told you the monkeys were very literal. They are very, very literal. Let's go back to the previous page. Oops, previous page, one more time. Well, let's actually just go back to Search Funder Profiles page again. There we go. See how easily, there are many ways that you can move around here. We also came up with the alternate term reading. Remember that? As we said, maybe some funders use the term reading instead of literacy. Let's just check that out. I just typed the word reading into our keyword search box. And let's take a look. Do you think we're going to get same results, different results? What do you think? Look what we got. 7 records found that match the keywords reading. So before for literacy, we got 80. This time we're getting 7. Are these the same 7? Do all of these 7 records also show up on our literacy search? Did some funders use both terms, or did some funders only use reading? How will we find out? Well, I'll tell you what, we can use the power of the Boolean search monkeys to answer that question for us in just a matter of seconds, because we're going to combine the 2 search terms. What we're going to do now is what's called an OR search. The logic of the OR search says, Boolean search monkeys, we want you to go out and find every profile that has either literacy or reading or both, okay? We don't care. It could be one, it could be the other, or it could be both. And here's how we set this up in the GGO. It's different. There are a couple of different ways of doing this. The GGO version says just type the 2 terms that you want the monkeys to search for, separated by a space. So it looks like that: literacy space reading. Literacy space reading. Now, one thing about an OR search is that OR means more. And that means you're going to get more results back than you would if you were just searching on either of the 2. So we should get more than what? We should get more than 80. We got 80 results for literacy, 7 results for reading. We should get more, unless all of them are part of the same search. Let's just see what happens. Look what we got, guys. 83 records found that match keywords literacy reading. That means there were 3 funders who did not have the term literacy in their profile. They had reading, but they did not have literacy. And now we've captured them, and they could very well end up being sweet spot funders for us that we would have missed if we had just searched on literacy. Do you get that? That's what's powerful about this. These are 3 prospective funders that we match because they're interested in reading programs. But if we had just searched on the main term literacy, we would have completely missed them. Yay for the Boolean search monkeys. So I want to demonstrate for you, that was an OR search. That's when we want either or both, when we want the most possible. But let's take a look at what an AND search would be. So searches are either AND searches or OR searches. An AND search tells the monkeys just bring us back those profiles that have both literacy and reading. both literacy and reading. They have to have both the terms in order for you to bring them back. And we do that by adding a little plus mark in front of the literacy and a plus mark in front of reading. Can you see that? Plus literacy and then a space plus reading. Now think about this. We got 80 when we asked for literacy. We got 7 when we asked for reading. When we asked for both, we got 83. How many do you think we're going to get that show both? I think I know what it's going to be. It's going to be a very small number. It's going to be the difference between 87 and 83, right? Should be. And it is 4. So there are only 4 funders in that entire set that used both terms. And that makes sense because we had 7 when we searched on reading. 4 also use literacy and 3 only use reading. See how that works? All right, once you understand the logic, it's really fascinating to see how that works. All right, so that's what an and search does. In this case, we definitely want to use an or search because these are alternate terms that mean the same thing, and we want all the funders that use either one or the other or both. And that's exactly what we got with our or search. I love that. So or is great for searching multiple alternate terms at the same time. All right, so that was frame number 1. Now let's take a look at frame number 2. Here we were talking about who you're helping. And let's do the exact same thing we did before. Let's say we're helping teenagers. So let's just put teen in, T-E-E-N, see that? And take a search and see how many times does that term teen show up? Oh my gosh, wait a minute, what's wrong with that? So out of the whole 3,000 database, the TEEN only shows up 1 time in all of that? Well, that's not actually terribly surprising. What that tells us is that's not the right term to use. Now let's try something here. Let's try teens. Let's make it be plural. Maybe it shows up plural all the time. We only got 1 before. Well, we got 3 this time. They're not the same one. They don't even include the one that we just saw. Well, what happens if we, I don't know, try what? Teenage. Does that show anything? We get 1 for teenage. Well, guys, it could be really, really tedious to try to go through and specifically identify each and every variation of the word teen to try to catch all the very specific language that we're asking our Boolean search monkeys to look for. Remember, they don't know, they don't autocorrect. They're not AI at all. They're very, very little. They will only look for those terms. Here's how we fool them, or here's how we help them help us. Let's use TEEN and put an asterisk at the end. TEEN asterisk. What have we just done? The asterisk cues the search monkeys to say, we want you to find every profile that has TEEN and anything else that's stuck on the end of it. So we're going to get teens with an S. We're going to get teenage. We're going to get teen-age. We're going to get teenager. We're going to get anything and everything that starts with TEEN, no matter what comes after. And that's what that asterisk does. So let's take a look and see what happens here. So basically, we just picked up, and you can see 5 records that match keywords, and then it's TEEN asterisk. There's our little asterisk. And that's basically our teen and our teens and every other variation, if there were others. Well, we're pretty sure there are a lot more funders out there that support young people that we're calling teenagers here. So maybe we're using the wrong language. And when you get results, that's why the alternate language is so important. So what's another alternate word for teen that we could try? Then if you're thinking youth, I agree, let's try youth. But this time, because we know about that asterisk, let's just go ahead and put the asterisk on. And I want you to practice always using the asterisk. What I want you to do is use the shortest possible version of a word or variant with the asterisk so you can catch anything and everything that might come after. So this could be YOUTH hyphen YOU, you know, anything that could be part of the word youth. And let's just do our search and see if we come up with more results than we did when we searched on teen. Oh my gosh, I should say so. 416 records that match keywords youth asterisk. So this tells us that in this database, youth is the preferred terminology. The word teen is used very rarely. Youth is the preferred terminology. We just found 416 records that match youth. All right. So, and we're also catching any and all variants that there might be. So let's do what we did before, since we're using alternate language, just like we did with literacy and reading. Let's see if there's any advantage at all in doing an OR search with youth and teens. Okay, so we're going to keep the youth asterisk, and we're just going to add back in the teen asterisk. Where's my asterisk? Why all of a sudden do I not know where my asterisk is? That's weird. You stop and think about something you've done a million times and you can't do it. Let's just see, we got 416 before. Oh my gosh, look what happened. 419 records found that match both of them, either this or that or both. What we've just done is we just added on 3 additional prospective sweet spot funders by combining these 2 terms. Remember when we did youth, we got 416. When we added teen, we now get 419. So again, just like we did before with literacy and reading, we've just spotted 3 prospective funders that we wouldn't have grabbed if we hadn't searched on that alternate word teen. Wow. So that's a very big deal. That one funder that we caught here could be the one that opens up, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars of wonderful funding for your program. And you would have missed it if you had stuck just with the word youth. So another power tool in the Arizona Guide to Grants Online, let me show you this. I'm going to clear the keyword search out completely. So there's now nothing in the keyword search. And we're going to take a look for the first time at our criteria search. So this is a very different strategy, and the information behind the scenes is organized very differently in the criteria search. These are actually check boxes that are pre-programmed into the database, either for funders to update themselves or for our researchers to update as they go through. This is not included in the keyword search, and some funder profiles will have checked boxes for their criteria search without any text at all in their profile that the keyword search can find. Okay, what that means is you may get funders just through the criteria search that you do not get through the keyword search. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you here by taking a look at target groups. Remember, we searched on youth in keyword and we got 416 funders. Watch what happens when I click on youth as a target group. Remember, I've cleared out the keyword, so we're just doing one search, just doing the youth search here. Okay, that's all we're searching. Nothing else is checked. I'm double checking. Nothing else is checked. Okay, here we go. And what do you see? 483 records found that match the criteria, not the keyword, the criteria youth. We got 416 when we used youth as a keyword. We got 483 when we used criteria youth as a criteria search. So the power, because of how the Guide Online is constructed, keyword search will only search text fields. Not all funders have information in the text fields. They may just check the criteria options without using those terms in a text field. And that's why a criteria search oftentimes, if you're using the exact same terminology, will bring back more results. Wow, what are you going to do about that? That's making things a little bit complicated, right? Well, we get to actually combine the two, and I'll show you how that works in just a minute. Let's keep going with our frame 3, our servicer intervention. Okay, we're going to move through this quickly. Frame number 3, servicer intervention. Remember, we're training people to be tutors. So let's just put the word tutor. Are we going to put tutoring in? No. Are we going to put tutors in with an S? No. We're going to put tutor, which is the shortest possible version of that base word, with an asterisk, always with the asterisk, shortest possible version with the asterisk, and we'll get everything. Let's do a search and see what we come up with. 7 records found that match the keywords. Oh, look at this. 7 records that match keywords tutor and criteria youth. Okay, so I'm looking at that and saying, oh, that wasn't the search that I wanted. I didn't mean to have youth clicked there. We'll come to that. We're not there yet. So I would go back straight back to the search that I just did. And this time I'm going to go down and uncheck youth. I don't want youth to be part of the search this time. I just want tutors. Now I'll do the search again. So you can always back out if you double check and make sure that your search was accurate, and then you can always back out and change it. This time, look what happened. 8 records that match keywords tutor with an asterisk. So there are 8 funders that use some language about tutors or tutoring in their funder profiles. That's cool. So we also had a second term that we wanted to search, didn't we? And that was volunteers. Again, because we're working with volunteers to provide the tutoring services, that's a key part of something that we want to search on. So we'll do the same exact thing, volunteer with an asterisk. We don't have any of our criteria checked. It's a clean search, volunteer asterisk. Take a look and see 39 records found that match the keyword volunteer. 39 funders in our database that have an interest in something to do with volunteers and volunteer programs. Yay, that is so cool. So again, we're just moving through doing one search at a time just to kind of see what's out there. Let's go ahead and move to frame number 4. Frame number 4 was the nature of the locale. That was, we're already searching inside Arizona. Arizona is a given, but now we're going to look a little more closely at, let's say, remember, Tucson. So let's say we want to take a look at, are there funders out there that specifically are interested in organizations in Tucson? Let's do a search and see. 168 say yes, match the keyword Tucson. Woohoo! You know what I forgot to do? I don't know that it'll make a difference, but I told you to get in the habit of adding the asterisk at the end of a single word. I forgot to do that. Let's see if that makes any difference. I don't think it will. In this case, we get the same results, 168. Okay, so that didn't make a difference, but I just want you to get in the habit of using that asterisk just in case. All right, you know what? There's another way of thinking about where we're located, and that is, hey, we're located in Pima County. So maybe we want to search to see who's interested in supporting programs in Pima County, right? Not just Tucson. So let me put the words Pima County in here. Oops. Let me type that in. So Pima County. Now I know what's going to happen here, and let's see if you can figure it out. Based on what we've already learned about how we do our Boolean monkey searches, what do you think the monkeys are going to do with Pima County, the way I have it set up right there?
It's going to be both, right? Not together.
Let's take a look and see. 43 records, woohoo! That looks really, really good. But wait a minute, guys. Arizona Community Foundation of Cochise, Arizona Community Foundation of the Gila Valley, Arizona Community Foundation of Yavapai County. That's not right. You're exactly right. Yay, bonus points for Angela. What the monkeys did is they said, oh, she wants to do an or search. So we're going to bring back everything that has either Pima or county or both. So we got Yuma County, we get Maricopa County, we get Yavapai County, we get all of those records. If we want them to search for the phrase Here's how we set that up. We can absolutely do that. We just put quotation marks around it. So now we've got the same two words, Pima County, but now they're in quotation marks, and that's telling the Boolean monkeys, this is your search string. You're going to search for any place where this entire character string appears. Okay, and let's take a look at the difference. 6. Okay, now the keywords match Pima County. See the difference there? So for instance, if you're searching for domestic violence, you need to put quotation marks around the two terms, domestic violence. If you're searching for anything where you need to be searching for a specific phrase or a combination of more than one word, you need to use quotation marks to tell the search monkeys, this is not an OR search. I want you to find the entire string that's, I know it looks like an OR search, but we're putting quotation marks to tell you we want you to find only those that match on the entire character string inside the quotation marks. All right. So now we've zeroed in on 6 funders with a specific interest in Pima County. Whoa. So we had one more characteristic that we wanted to search that had to do with the nature of the locale, right? And that was that we're serving a rural community, rural. So RURAL with what? An asterisk, of course. And let's take a look and see how we do with our keyword search here. 21 records found that match the keyword rural. Woohoo, rural with an asterisk. That is awesome. All right, so mark that down. That's good. But I'm going to show you something else. Here's that pro tip again. You may have noticed, I don't know if you did or not, that rural also shows up as a target group. So it's really good idea to familiarize yourself with the criteria, because way down here at the bottom of target group, here's rural areas. And what did I tell you earlier? You are likely to get more funders if you can click a criteria group rather than using the exact same terminology as a keyword search. So let's test that here. Let's click rural areas as a criteria search. And let's go back up here and take it out of our keyword search. So when we did rural keyword, we got 21 results. Now we're using the criteria search instead, just like we did for youth, remember? And let's see what we come up with. Yeah, baby, 83. 21 if we use the keyword, 83 if we use the criteria. Again, that's because some funders will simply check off the criteria, but not use any text that the keyword search can, that the Boolean monkeys can look for the keywords. 83 records that match criteria, rural areas. Woohoo! All right, so you basically know the basics of Boolean search monkey language. At this point, we've walked through an example of everything you need to know to use the superpowers of your Boolean search monkeys. Let's just do one more. Let's just do one more search string, and we're going to go into frame 5, which is type of organization. And I'm just going to go straight to church. And the reason is, I mentioned to you when we pulled that in, the minute we associate or affiliate with an organization that's a different kind of organization than we are, we also potentially can connect with funders who only support that kind of organization. Let's just see what we can find if we go looking for funders who somehow or other reference churches or church affiliated programs in their text. So I've got search with an asterisk. Let's see what happens. Oh, see, look at this again. Here you go. One record found that match. I'm looking at that saying one. That doesn't sound right. Search and rural areas. What did I do? Maryn, you forgot to clear your previous search. You're getting a sneak preview of what happens when we combine searches, but I didn't want to go there just yet. So we're going to clear the rural areas. And now we've got a pure search. It's just church asterisk. And there we go. So 12 funders in the database have that keyword church in some way, shape, or form, indicating some kind of connection with or interest in working with church affiliated organizations. Woo-hoo. Or maybe the word church shows up in their name. That could be true as well. All right. So have you been keeping count? If you go to the bottom of page 11 on your workbook, I am not going out to my PowerPoints right now. I am not leaving where we are. We started with all the grant makers who make grants in our geographic region. That's Arizona. And then we went through to narrow by using our scavenger hunt search terms one at a time, identifying those list of grant makers who have some connection with or interest in making grants in at least one of these areas. We went through literacy or reading. We went through teens or youth. We did not look specifically at immigrant families, but you can certainly do that. I wanted to leave a little for you to work on your own. We looked at tutoring. We looked at volunteers. We looked at rural from a couple of different perspectives. We looked at Tucson. We even took a little side trip to Pima County. We did not test schools, but we just tested churches. So you know how the Boolean monkeys think and work, and you know their language. Now we're going to amp it up. We are going to amp it up now and start building what I call 3-fers and 4-fers and even 5-fers. Remember, all of these we've done already are 2-fers, meaning they match on geographic area and they also match on at least one key scavenger hunt criterion. Now we're going to amp it up by combining searches, doing combo searches in a way that you haven't seen us do before. So here's what's going to happen. And you can go to page, where are we? Page 12. This is where we're going to work our way through this. And I'm going to go a little bit faster here, just because you already know the language. I'm just going to review for you quickly what we're doing here. Our first search, we're going to say, hey, let's do a check on whether we can get literacy and youth and see how many funders support both. Now, that's what's really important here. We are zeroing in just on those funders that support both literacy and youth. So this is an and search. And this makes it really easy because, remember, we are going to use literacy in our keyword. We've already tested that out. But we're going to go straight down here to target groups for youth. Okay. Because we know we get more results through the criteria than we do by using the same term in a keyword search. So we've got literacy in our keyword, we've got youth in our criteria. Let's do a search and see what happens. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I forgetting? Oh, Boolean monkeys. I'm so sorry. We're going to do literacy or reading. Remember, we almost dropped off reading. We're going to actually build that whole search, the literacy or reading search, into our keyword, just as we did earlier on. But now we're adding the youth as a criteria search selection. Okay, that's really important. Sorry, I almost missed that. Almost dropped off my alternative language. Here we go, guys. Let's see. So we should be getting narrow, because this is not an or search. This is an and search. Let's take a look and see what goes on here. And we come up with 65 records that match, that have either literacy or reading and also match the criteria youth. You see how that goes? Either literacy or reading or both, and match the criteria youth. Wow. So that's a 3-fer. We're matching on geography, Arizona. We're matching on the issue area, literacy or reading, and we're matching on the target population, youth. That's called a 3-fer. That is a sweet spot funder for sure. If I want to save this search, I can click over here, save the search, and give it a name. So I already have one saved search. I'm going to call this one youth. I'm going to save it. I can come back to it and run it anytime I want. Awesome. So that's how easy that is. And especially building in that criteria search makes it super easy, but we are by no means done yet. We are going to stick with the literacy and reading. We're going to keep youth, and now we're going to see if we can zero in on our rural areas. So what are we sending out the monkeys to look for? Hey, monkeys, we want you to bring in just those profiles that are a match on all 3. They're either literacy or reading. There's a match on youth, and there's a match on rural areas. So we're zeroing in, zeroing in, zeroing in. We just added one more search criteria there. This is so exciting. And we come up with 13 records that match our keywords and also match our 2 criteria, youth and rural areas. Guys, we are really getting into sweet spot funder zone when we've got a list of 13 funders that are so specific, okay, on 3 specific areas. Okay, and you can play with this in any way you want to. We're going to keep going with this. We're going to build this in a little bit more. Remember, we've got literacy, we've got reading. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we add Tucson. Remember, we had a number of funders that were interested in Tucson. Tucson is not a criterion. We're going to leave rural. Let's see, what are we going to do here? We're going to leave youth. We're going to leave rural. We're going to leave literacy and reading, but now we want to add Tucson. Now, we can't just put literacy, reading, Tucson in the keyword search box, because what are our monkeys going to do? They're going to go out and just get us everything. Everything. And we don't want everything. We only want those that match on everything. So this is where we have to group literacy and reading because they are one search. And so because they are one search, we're going to put parentheses around them. And that tells the monkeys, this is one search, literacy or reading, everything that fits there. This is also an and search. So we have to do what we have to put the plus in front of each of the terms. And I mean in front of each of the terms. So a plus goes in front of the parentheses and a plus goes in front of Tucson. So now the search monkeys are saying, oh, we've got 2 different things to search for here. And they only want the profiles that have both of these things in it. So now we've got literacy or reading, we've got Tucson, we've got youth in our criteria, and we have rural in our criteria. I have no idea how this is going to go. There may be 0. Let's just see. This is a really focused search, if I've set it up correctly. 4 records. So every single one of the funders on this list are a match for literacy or reading. They're a match for Tucson, they're a match for youth, and they are a match for rural areas. I would definitely want to save that search. This is so exciting. So now I'm going to do something really radical, and we are going to eliminate literacy completely. We are totally going to eliminate our entire mission from our search. So our whole mission as an organization is literacy and reading. And that's what we've been using as our key search all the way through. We're going to eliminate it now. We're not even going to search for funders who have a specific interest in literacy. Instead, we're just going to see if we can get some good hard matches on 3 or 4 other criteria, whether the funder's interested in literacy or not. And this is another super powerful pro tip. Guys, the funders that you're matching with do not have to have any interest at all in your primary mission. They just have to match on enough other criteria to say, yeah, this is a sweet spot for us. So now let's just eliminate literacy and let's search for rural, youth, and volunteers. Let's use those 3 terms, okay? So how are we going to do that? Well, let's go to criteria first because we know we've got youth and rural. All right, those are already checked. Youth and rural, all we have to do is build volunteers in, and we'll do that in our keyword box. We've done this search as a keyword before. Volunteer with an asterisk. So we get singular, we get plural, we get volunteering, we get all variations of the word. And let's take a look and see what happens. Remember, there's no literacy here at all, none. We get 4 records that match volunteer, youth, and rural areas. So without even having a connection on literacy, all of these 4 funders could potentially get excited about our proposal because we are working with volunteers, we are serving youth, and we are serving rural areas, right? Isn't that cool? And by the way, if you go back and check, I did this check for you. All 4 of these are new. None of these came up when literacy was a term. Not a one of these 4 came up when we were searching for literacy. So these are 4 completely new funders in terms of our searches. Sweet spot funders. We can do the exact same thing. We're going to wrap this up here pretty quick because I could just go on forever and ever. Let's do the exact same thing, but now instead of volunteer, let's use churches. Let's go to our partners. Remember, criteria is still youth and criteria is still rural areas. All we're going to do is sub in the word church with an asterisk. And we're going to see if we can find some funders that potentially will connect with us around the fact that we're partnering with churches serving your youth in rural areas. Well, guess what? We got 0. Okay, that's all right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go take one of the search terms off. That's fine. I'm just going to take off. All that meant was we just narrowed it down so much that we didn't have a hit on all 3. Let's just see if we back off on rural. Let's just try that and see if we come up with a similar idea. So now we're just searching on church and youth. And this time we come up with 5 that are a match for church and youth. So it's not a 4-fer. There's a 3-way match, not a 4 or 5-way match, but there's still some good prospects here. And again, these are all 5 new funders that have not showed up in our searches yet. And it's because of that connection with church that brings them onto our list right here. Wow, how awesome is that? So that is the end of the searches. And this is the point where I just go, oh my gosh, I'm blown away. I haven't even looked at my time. I have no idea where we are on time. What we've just done is amp it up. When we go through and do the one at a time searches that I walked you through initially, just to search on each of our scavenger hunt terms one at a time to help you familiarize yourself with how it all works. But it's when we stack our searches, when we're able to combine our searches in the way that I did in the last 10 minutes there, that the superpower really reveals itself, because we can get narrower and narrower and narrower and more focused on those funders who are a match for us, even if it's not on our primary mission. It can be a match on 2 or 3 or 4, or sometimes even more primary aspects of the work that we're setting out to do. Okay, and then you highlight those connections in your proposal. You show them exactly how their interest in X is matched by your interest in X, Y, Z, etc. All right. So I am going to attempt to go back to my PowerPoint now, just for a moment. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I think I'm yeah, I am going to stop the share. Let me just stop the share for now. There we go. We'll go back to here. What time is it anyway? Are we way over time?
11:50. We are much over time.
I apologize for that. Do we still have lots of people on?
We have about 20 people on.
Awesome.
So
Thank you for hanging in there. This was, yeah.
if we could just wrap up in the next 5 minutes, then that would be
I'm
awesome.
all on you. I'm just saying this is it. You got a really in-depth tutorial on how to make it all work. I hope it was wonderful for you and you're excited to get in and give it a go. Let's open it up to questions, and we'll take questions for as long as you all are able to stay on, Alicia and Angela. I'm good to go.
So the only question that we saw was, is there ever an opportunity where a donor can put in their profile that they might be funding a new mission or cause that we could tell?
Well, that would be, as I understand the research, that would show up as an update on the list of funders, on the list of funder profiles that have been updated in the last 30 days. And if you're looking for, if you're tracking a specific funder and you can check back to see if anything about that profile has been updated, you can check the updated or new database to see if that particular profile has been updated. But honestly, at that point, let me think about that. I guess I could answer the question from a couple of different perspectives. It's kind of an open-ended question. I guess I'm not quite sure what the direction of the question is.
So the question really is there ever a way in this database to know if a donor may potentially be willing to look at a new category than what is listed in the database, like a new mission?
I would say no, and I'm not sure where the question comes from or how that moves us forward. If what we're looking at is what funders say they're doing, what can happen is if you have a relationship with a grant making organization, if I don't know if the question is leading into saying, hey, could I propose something that's outside their scope and get them interested in doing something new? That rarely happens in the first place. And oh, I see Christina put something else in the chat. It looks like she's putting in a
It's that she's basically saying, like, if a funder is saying that they fund something like art and music, could it be possible that they could also fund something similar but different, like dance?
Sure, and that's part of what you'd find out if you do some additional due diligence. Arts and music is, it certainly sounds like there's some performing arts components there. I would go straight to their website to see if there's different information on their website. And if that is not clear, then it's certainly fine to send an email or even probably an email is better to see if there is any interest in the future, perhaps. I can see that you've really expanded your funding in arts and music in the last couple of years. We're curious to know if that's going to include moving into more of a performing arts focus. That's a perfectly appropriate question to ask them. That would not show up in the database, but there would be clues that could lead you to track that down a little bit more specifically outside the database itself, for sure. Yeah.
Great. So I think that's the only question that we haven't been able to answer in the chat specifically.
Oh, awesome. You guys have been busy.
Yeah. So if people have further questions, we will be sending out a reminder email today. And if you have questions, feel free to reply in there. We will also be including the emails to Jennifer Blair and Robin Reif, who are our membership team. So if you have questions in particular about how to join Guide to Grants Online or get access to that, they will be able to answer those questions. And thank you so much, Maryn, for joining us. And thank you to everyone who stayed on today for a longer than anticipated webinar. We hope you all have a great day.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everybody for hanging in there with us. Thank you so much.